Sometimes a show comes along with compelling characters and an intensely intriguing narrative that just draws an audience in en masse. People talk about it with their friends, join clubs, buy tons of merch from it, and borderline become obsessed with them. And then the show hits a point where either the showrunners or writers don't know where to go or how to end it because the studios behind them want to keep capitalizing on their property. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Every new sub helps us achieve our goal and keeps us motivated to create new content. With that being said, I'm your host, Jamie, and here are 10 terrible final seasons of popular shows. Number 1, Dexter. Following Dexter Morgan, played by Michael C. Hall, we are introduced to the world of a forensic technician, blood spatter specialist by day, vigilante serial killer by night. Running from October 2006 until September 2013, audiences were enthralled in Dexter's story. As a young boy, he witnessed his mother's horrific murder, which ultimately shaped him into a sociopath. Throughout the series, Dexter shares that he is unable to feel any emotion and has this dark passenger that consumes him with the desire to kill. Sure, we see him interact with several people, and sometimes can be misconstrued that he actually cares, but he claims he's just acting. However, something ignites in him when he meets others who share his passion. Most of the seasons are on par to the original, which was derived from Jeff Lindsay's novel, Darkly Dreaming Dexter. However, the final season took a turn for the worst. Sociopathic tendencies don't just go away, and for a person who's unable to feel any emotion, finally being able to seems a bit far-fetched. Oftentimes during that final season, it seems like Dexter is dealing with regret and remorse. One clear example of that is when his sister dies. He takes her to the final resting place of his previous victims, claiming that she's also one of his victims. But then he turns his boat towards the hurricane and lets others believe he died, all because he feels that people would be better off without him. It just doesn't fit. And the pacing during this season is all over the place, to the point audiences were glad to see the series end, but were piqued with new curiosity as the final scene is of Dexter living off-grid near a lumber yard, which helped spawn 2 new series, Dexter Original Sin and Dexter Resurrection. If you want to see this story unfold, you can on Roku, Sling, Paramount Plus, Hulu, Fubo, Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 2, Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is a fantasy drama that was adapted from the series A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin, which first aired on April 17, 2011. Following an array of characters in the fictional land of Westeros and Essos, audiences either loved or hated certain characters, but ultimately loved the show. That's mainly because the source material was used for the first 4 seasons, and then writers David Benioff and D.B. Weiss seemed to lack the ability to continue on with the character arcs and story. Up until season 7, the characters were smart, cunning, and resilient, but when all the leaders come together to take down the zombies in season 7, that's when everything goes to hell. First off, why would anybody want to capture a zombie? Second off, who is exactly the genius behind going to the far north, risking everything to bring this damn zombie back? It doesn't even help that as the episodes continue on, these brilliant people begin to lose any kind of intelligence they once had, or the characters just don't line up with what was previously presented. For example, Tyrion in the first few seasons is adamant that nobody can reason with Cersei. But in season 8, he claims he can try and get her to listen to reason. She blamed Tyrion for the deaths of her son and husband, so why would she even give him the time of day? Game of Thrones was considered to be one of the greatest TV series of all time due to how well everything was crafted, from character arcs to cinematography and everything in between. But that final season was so poorly lacking, audiences didn't really get closure. Fights were abundant, characters came back that should not have, and whatever else. To say this was a terrible final season was an understatement. Although, the rest of the series is a great time that you can enjoy on Max, Hulu, Roku, Sling, Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 3, The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead first premiered on October 31st, 2010 and lasted 11 seasons, with the final episode airing on November 20th, 2022. We follow Andrew Lincoln as he wakes up in a hospital after being shot and has to learn quickly what all happened when he was out of it. A virus came and wiped out almost everybody, except those people turned into zombies, or walkers as they're known in the show. Lincoln travels, meets new people, finds his wife and friend, and together they all try to fight their way to safety. The first few seasons were great, but as later seasons came, I found it redundant or just ridiculous. Plus, when you start killing off the good characters and giving the others some kind of vendetta they have to take on, just doesn't entertain me too much. By the time the last season rolls around, most of the beloved characters have died or just been written off the show, and there isn't really anybody taking those places. So emotional attachment is now gone. Although I stayed solely for Norman Reedus. There is so much more they could have done and written the story more fitting to what we had already gotten. It doesn't help that instead of getting an actual finale, we're getting spin-offs. Audiences lost so much in this final season, but producers decided to take a once good thing, turn it into a bleak experience, and run with whatever they decided to do with the next 6 series. I will be honest and say I have not sat down to watch those, so let me know which ones you liked in the comments. If you haven't yet and feel you must watch this series, you can do so on Pluto, Roku, Sling, Philo, Netflix, Prime, Fandango, and Apple TV. Number 4, True Blood. Following Sookie's Stackhouse, we are introduced to the parish of Bonton and all its residents, alive and undead. We see how she and others respond to the newest wave of vampires coming out of the coffin and into day-to-day life. Or should I say night to night. One vampire named Bill catches Sookie's attention and the two start a relationship, which irks her brother. Following all the adventures of Sookie, Bill, Jason and Tara, Sookie's brother and her best friend, we meet so many other characters and fall in love with them. But honestly, my favorite was Lafayette, who is fucking brilliant and hilarious. Audiences responded so well to the show and even got several nominations and wins, including a Golden Globe and an Emmy. Season 5 though was the peak of the show with the Vampire Academy and the oldest living vampire, who ultimately ends his own life. Season 6 is where we're introduced to fairies, and that's where it starts to get weird and like things don't fit. Then we get this 180 in season 7, where initially traditional family values weren't a thing. Kind of bordering on the idea of you choose your own family. But then it goes into the concept of blood makes you family. Makes me think of the blood is thicker than water statement that's very often misstated. The previous seasons really rely on the true statement of the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, meaning you make your own family. But I feel this is also due to the writers bringing in religion heavier in later seasons. It doesn't help that there's just a massive decline in the writing and character development. This could have been really easy considering the series is based off the novels The Southern Vampire Mysteries by Charlaine Harris. There are 13 novels in this series, And each one could have made a great season, but writers lost their edge. Either way, if you want to check out the series, you can on Hulu, Disney Plus, Max, Sling, Roku, Prime, Fandango, or Apple TV. But try to stay away from the final season. Number 5, Fringe. Fringe absolutely confused me when I first watched it, considering I never knew which universe the characters were in. So it took a second go around for me. But it was worth it for Joshua Jackson, heartthrob of the late 90s, early 2000s. Anyway, we follow the Fringe division that's supported by the FBI as they try to take on the parallel universes from crossing each other. I will say, there was a lot more of a world-building story, very little character building, but ultimately an interesting take on parallel universes and mythology. It piqued audiences' interest in alternate realities and timelines, even rewriting the attacks on 9/11, where the Twin Towers still stand. But I often found myself questioning, why are they only really worried about one or two alternate realities? There's countless ways things could have turned out, but then again, it is just a show. Seasons 1 through 4 were mainly about the different universes, but season 5 somehow ended up with time travel, which doesn't follow the original story too much. Some of the characters felt like they were just fillers, and the story was horribly rushed to the point there's so many missed opportunities, especially with the observers. The show first aired in September of 2008, ending in January of 2013, and gained quite the cult following in subsequent years. So let me know your thoughts if you check this out on Apple TV, Prime, or Fandango. Number 6, Lost. From September 2004 until May 2010, audiences were enthralled with the latest science fiction adventure drama that follows passengers of a plane crash on a mysterious island. Each episode invited us into each character's life before they boarded the flight that left them lost somewhere in the South Pacific Ocean. During season 1, we meet each of the characters, set up a camp, fight off monsters, and whatever else is thrown their way, with subsequent seasons following suit. In season 5, the timeline splits and it follows 2 different types of stories, which is interesting, but I feel just didn't quite grab the attention previous seasons did. By season 6, everything falls apart. Religion is thrown in, and there's a storyline where the plane never crashed, and there's even a glimpse at purgatory in the final episode. Initially, the series started off on a more scientific aspect, but when season 6 comes out and religion became more prominent, the story just became confusing. The flashbacks did not help the situation either, leaving some to feel so disconnected from the original storyline. Characters didn't fit, as if they were rushed or underdeveloped, or they just didn't add anything. Then we also have unresolved mysteries that never get explained, such as a sickness that one of the others talks about. When this first aired, even later seasons, it was a good watch, receiving hundreds of nominations, with critics even putting this show on the greatest television series of all time. So if you feel like joining in on the adventure and totally bypassing season 6, you can on Hulu, Disney Plus, Netflix, Apple TV, Prime, or Fandango. Number 7, That 70s Show. August 23rd, 1998. Audiences were glued to their TV sets as 6 unpopular teens sit in the basement getting high and dealing with the struggles of the 70s. Themes touched on drugs and alcohol, sexual orientation, the recession, and relationships. The group goes through just average things that teens went through, especially in the fictional town of Point Place, Wisconsin. Now, being from Wisconsin, I will say there are areas that were just like that in the 70s. We have the pictures. It was funny, emotional, and timeless. We loved all the characters, all their antics and the chemistry. One of the funnier aspects is the generational conflict that happens, especially coming from the father, Red, and the mother, Kitty, towards their son, Eric, and his friends. Honestly, Red kind of reminds me of my grandpa, just grouchy and acts like we have it made. But I digress. It isn't until season 7 that Eric was written off the show, and season 8 just went downhill faster than an iced up bobsled on a snowy night. Eric was almost the ringleader of all their antics, and his house was where everybody went, so it became awkward. Then there's this relationship between two characters that should have never happened. If you know, you know. There's also this lack of focus that comes into the story. Nobody knows where they're going, what they're gonna do, and it just adds to the disappointment. But you can check out where it all started on Peacock or Prime. Number 8, Roseanne. Where to begin with the TV sitcom Roseanne? Originally airing from October 1988 until May 1997, we follow the Connor family with Roseanne, Dan her husband, daughters Becky and Darlene, son DJ, and sister Jackie as they navigate life in the late 80s till the late 90s. Most of the series is great, just day-to-day things, real-life situations such as domestic abuse, drinking, birth control, sexual activity in teens, pregnancies, and everything in between. It makes it so enjoyable considering the family is just an average family, struggling with life and the turns it takes us on. This continues on for 8 seasons. Then, season 9 hits, and audiences were floored by the finale. I am talking jaws dropping, a lot of what the fuck was that kind of thing. The family won the lottery, is trying to figure out what to do with the money, continuing college for the kids, and a pregnancy. But none of that matters. Apparently, the entire series was fake, according to Roseanne in the final episode, saying that none of this happened. It was her story just twisted up to make it better because she could not deal with Dan's ultimate betrayal. And no, it wasn't him cheating on her. He died of a massive heart attack. So everything we just witnessed over the years, all the fun, all the anger, hurt, love, and familiarity just got dumped down the drain. I hated it. Doesn't help there's revival shows and even a spin-off, The Connors. But seasons 1 through 8 are worth the watch. Just please do not watch the final season. It has absolutely nothing to do with the original story. So make sure to check out the original on Peacock, Apple TV, or Prime. Number 9, Heroes. Sometimes a story falls short due to writing, and that's what happened with the superhero drama Heroes that aired from September 2006 till February 2010. We follow various people who discover they have superhuman abilities, and as the show goes on, we learn of each of them, how they're all connected, what they can do, and how they can save the world from catastrophe after catastrophe. It was great seeing all these people come together from different backgrounds to fight for the common good, or just save the world from disaster. I don't know if many of you remember the WGA writers' strike from November 2007 till February 2008, but that was the death sentence for this series. Doesn't help when networks butt their heads into things to fit their agenda, not allowing writers to do what they do best. But I digress. Hero saw a lack of character development, plot holes, and inconsistencies that just bogged down the vibe, leaving audiences a little confused and angry about not getting any kind of closure. This is one show I would really like to see if they could remake it, and maybe give us some better answers. However, you can check this out and see if you agree with me over on Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 10, How I Met Your Mother. This American sitcom aired from September 2005 until March of 2014. Was nominated for 91 awards, winning 21 of them. The premise is cute. A dad telling his daughter how he met her mother. And we get to follow all the friends as they meet new people, get in relationships, expand on existing ones, and just random shenanigans from the group of guys. Now, the pilot episode is a little less than desired, but after that, the show picks up and becomes something great. Hearing Bob Saget tell this story is also a bit nostalgic for us 90s kids. Remember the dad from Full House? So Saget goes on to tell his daughter all these things that happened, but refuses to let her in on the innuendos, not wanting to taint her ideas about him and her mother. However, season 9 just became weird. It just didn't have the right pace, often going either too fast or too slow. Characters just didn't go anywhere, and we never actually meet the mother. Sure, she's named in season 1 and again in season 9, but we never see Ted and the mother together. We never really meet her. It's just a name. It was such a huge disappointment that really kind of pissed off the audiences. I'm curious what you guys thought of it. If you haven't seen it and want to join in on the discussion, check it out on Hulu, Disney+, Netflix, Apple TV, Prime, or Fandango. Thanks for checking out the video. Did we leave any shows off the list? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to tap that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter or X at StudiosFat, or chat with us on Discord, linked below. We're also now on Blue Sky. You can find us at studiosfat.bsky.social, which will also link below. If you're really enjoying our content and want to help support us, click that join button for exclusive content, rewards, and perks. Make sure to check out our very own merch store located at fatninja.shop. All proceeds go towards our next film project, so we greatly appreciate it. I've been your host, Jamie. Thanks again, and take care.